Okay, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Community Engagement Committee meeting. And the first thing on the agenda tonight would be resident comments. So I know Marty is present. So if you would like to start us off, Marty.
Well, I'd be honored, and thank you, Keith, and hi to everybody, and thanks for having the meeting, and I'm looking forward to the event at La Firme. Thank you for, I know, a lot of work that went into that by everybody. My only other question, which we can get to later in the meeting if you'd like, is I appreciate you raising the recommendation about some mechanism for residents to talk to each other, some online space for discussions. Thanks for making that recommendation at the council meeting in February. And I know Jean is still working very hard, along with some other folks now, on the effort to try to fix the listserv or replace it, which increasingly is looking like we may need to do. But anyway, just a quick report on that. And thank you to all of you for understanding the importance of having the residents be able to discuss issues with each other. You know, the lateral discussion really has been a missing link here, and I appreciate the attention to what we can do to try to remedy that. So thank you. This is just a thank you and a hi, and happy to be helpful in any way I can on any of these issues.
Okay, and we're going to look forward to you coming back with us again before we conclude with some more resident comments after the meeting, Marty. And we thank you. Okay. Well, we're all excited about the brunch at the La Firme. And Michael has done an outstanding job putting all that together. Weather-wise, no problem. It's going to be a beautiful day. It won't be especially warm. It's going to be like in the low 50s, but that's normal for the early part of March. A lot of sunshine, and everybody is going to, I promise you, have a wonderful time to get everybody together on a beautiful day inside the La Firme restaurant with good food. Good beverages, adult beverages. The kids are going to be well taken care of, that are brought along by their parents. And it's going to be a very special time. We've secured a pianist from right next door here, as a matter of fact, in the music school next door. And this gentleman is outstanding from what I've been told. So we're looking forward to having him play there. And we hope to see so many people there in our community to gather and get together for a really, really nice time. So, Paul, if you want to join in here, you and Phil, please.
Well, I would like to make two official comments, put two official comments on the record. Michael, are you taking notes and making this the official?
It's being recorded, so
okay,
we're all good.
Number one, I would just like to thank our village manager for explaining to everybody in the community what his priorities and activities and achievements have been in the first 90 days. It's been absolutely phenomenal.
Yes.
But in back of that, you know, Michael, not just in what you've actually done, but almost as important is telling everybody what you've done and communicating effectively, which is one of the missions of our engagement committee. So thank you very much for that. Really appreciate it. And also setting your priorities for the next 90 days.
Here, here.
The second thing I would like to do is, Marty, thank you very much for participating as a member of the community in this committee, because I very, very foolishly set the over-under of resident participants at 7, and both Phil and Keith went under that. So I owe them a bet which is yet to be established, but I'm pretty sure I'll buy you a beer on Sunday. Was that okay?
Fair enough.
I think that's an interesting way to operate a committee, Paul. And what can I say? Next time I'll bring what 6 more people with me.
Well, let's try to bring the people on Sunday, because we told La Firme we were expecting 150 people. So
maybe that's a good place, the transition. So 2 points for me
on the La Firma event. One was I reached out to a couple babysitting agencies, and thus far have struck out. None seem to want to take on the challenge of a sort of unknown number of children in an upstairs restaurant, sort of all of the unknowns involved. I haven't gotten any takers as of yet. And it seems somewhat like you could try and cobble together a bunch of individual babysitters, but that also seems like it's a bit of a bad idea for lots of reasons. And so I have one call outstanding actually to the babysitting agency that my family uses in the hopes that maybe they can pull together a couple, but that's the only one that I haven't heard back yet from. So fingers crossed there that they get back to me with something positive, but that's the only one that I haven't heard back yet from. The other point that I was going to say is in terms of advertising for the event, I know that we've done the emails through the listserv, but does it make sense to use our street captains like we did for the last two events sort of in the last week or so? I am happy to put together a flyer like I did for the Halloween event, if that would be helpful. And we can distribute them either by hand or by email or whatever would make sense.
If I could jump in as a street captain, I'd be very happy to help with that.
I've already drafted flyers
Oh,
and
perfect.
have 100
Ah.
printed up. I don't know if you want to critique these or we can
No,
change
no.
them. You can hand them around.
It's perfect.
I figured we could post a couple as well. There is the bulletin board that's been highly underutilized and lacking updating on the front of the market. And that is technically ours. So I think posting a couple in places like that would be helpful as well. If you all want to hand them out or go through the street captains, I think that's all good ideas.
Can you hold up the flyer so we can see it?
Can you see that?
Oh, it looks nice. Yes, yes, thank you.
A couple questions about the childcare issue and everything. I get that because I think it's like Maryland law. I think you have to have like an adult for every 10 kids. And so if we don't know if we're gonna have 30 kids and 3 adults, or if it's gonna be 20 kids or.
And the ages, right?
And their
It's age
ages,
dependent.
yeah. Are we offering like activities or what do we?
The only thing we have for sure planned is La Firme has confirmed their side patio. It will be reserved for children and their childcare providers.
Okay.
So whether that's, parents who want to have a separate space for kids without alcohol present, or whether there's, nannies and babysitters.
Okay.
But I do think the village probably wants to stay out of the business of hiring
Yeah.
babysitters for people, just because of that does raise some interesting liability
Yeah,
problems.
yeah.
It's good to know.
And it's probably too late now, but we'll see how it goes, but we could have probably reached out to some of the schools and offered SSL hours, but I don't know where we are on our forms on that and everything. I mean, that could be, down the road, but.
I also did reach out to like 3 or 4 magicians, and frankly, like a Sunday afternoon, as you can imagine, it was like they're pretty much booked out 6-7 months in advance. It's just birthday parties.
Yeah,
And so, and I did that right after we met the first time.
yeah,
It's just birthday party after birthday party after birthday party. So, or at least anyone that was of quality.
yeah.
Well, I do know how to juggle.
Well,
Up a very-
it's all right. Here we go. Don't have your tricks fall.
One thing we could provide is just, paper and crayons. I mean, that keeps kids entertained, across a range of ages. And do like a little kids like, art contest or something. You don't need to make a contest. You could just have, kids art drawings and, praise the kids for their artwork. And, you can have fun. I mean, paper and crayons can go a long way, and that's so simple.
I have one of those long rolls from like an easel. We could just put like the whole paper out and tell them to make a Martin's Edition mural.
Perfect. Love
And
it.
then you can put it right here on the bare wall.
I'll go buy I just painted that wall actually. If we could yeah, and then if I need to run to the store and just buy a bunch of markers and
Yeah,
crayons and
Yeah.
stuff, that's not a problem.
yeah.
Make sure they're washable.
Yeah.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah, good point, Marty.
Marty, could you get in touch with some of the block captains to hand out
Sure.
flyers?
Sure.
That would be very helpful.
I will be happy to contact them all and ask them to, if you guys are happy with the flyer, I guess you can approve the flyer tonight or edit it if you want to. But
Flyer's great.
people can come by the office and pick them up or, yeah, so that'd be great.
Or
And
maybe
I'll
if
be,
you just also email an electronic copy and they can either print it out or if they want to go door to door, great. Or if they want to email it to their neighbors, that's also great.
I will happily send an email to all the block captains to help with that piece. And of course, I'll cover Chestnut Street.
Thanks, Marty. Thanks so much for doing that.
Marty, tomorrow I'll email you a copy of the flyer. I made it like a double paged flyer, but so
People probably will want a single page to print easier.
yeah, you're right. Or they can come by the office. Either one works. So
Okay. Thanks for producing it. I'll see if I can get the legwork in gear here.
The other thing that I had an idea to do was to get name tags for everyone.
we already ordered, I think, 300 name tags.
Mm.
They should be here on Thursday.
Very
They're
good.
the
We'll
stickable
set up a
ones.
Table where people come in
Mm.
and I'll be there early and I'll take that table for a while and maybe Paul could do a little while and then rotate with
Sure.
with Philip.
Yep.
The other thing is the restaurant said we could come at 12:30. But I put in all the communications and on the flyers 1 to 4.
Mhm.
I feel like 3 hours is probably plenty of time, but that's an opportunity for us to maybe get there a little bit early, just to make sure things are set up.
Let's
And
agree as to what time we'll all arrive there.
Sounds like 12:30 is
We-
the earliest we can.
yeah,
Okay,
Sounds good.
Yeah,
12:30.
done on that.
and do we have, are they gonna provide the table for us? Or do we need to bring one?
No, they'll provide that
Okay.
there. They'll provide everything there, right?
Okay.
You said you had the menu or?
Yeah, we did have a menu. I can read through it here. We had for cost considerations, we had to remove the one of the carving stations. But it sounds like a pretty good menu with a smoked salmon station, chicken and spinach crepes,
Paul.
roasted potatoes, eggs Benedict. They kind of went with the brunch theme and they said that would work better for a buffet style event. Homemade waffles.
Boy, I'm getting intoxicated on.
There's fresh fruit.
They never disappoint.
And several other goodies. And there's a dessert bar, and a drinks, whole drinks menu, both alcoholic and non-alcoholic. We left in one of the coffee stations. They had 2 coffee stations, but I just moved it to 1. And we have of course, the piano player from, actually the owner of the Chevy Chase Arts Academy, playing the piano. So
Good call.
Sounds like a great party. Makes
So-
me hungry just listening to the menu.
and that'll be supporting a local business in the village as well. So we like that whenever we can be good neighbors.
You bet. You bet. Smart move. I have a question
Yes,
about,
Marty.
I know it's just going to be kind of a, sort of a social, but is there any plan to introduce the new neighbors who come? Have we got anything where we want to, like, I don't know, do a, maybe at 2:00, warm welcome to new neighbors? I mean, that may be too much detail. I'll try to get our new neighbors on Chestnut certainly to come, and I'll encourage the street captains to make sure that new neighbors feel especially invited. But I don't know if you want to do something to just recognize new neighbors or not embarrass them publicly might be even better. I don't know.
We can ask them, Marty, if they, I'd love to do that, to introduce new neighbors.
Yeah, I don't know that we need to plan anything formal on that.
No, we don't. We just do it informally.
Okay.
The other idea that I had in mind was to bring in maybe some state delegates, county delegates, some people in the political field, and then I think they would welcome that opportunity. What do you think, Marty?
Oh, absolutely. Invite our three representatives and our state senator, Jeff Waldstreicher, has come by. I mean, he's always knocking on my porch door coming in at election time, so he knows our neighborhood well. And Emily Shetty has also come to, like, I think she was at the 4th of July event. So invite them all. And I think it's also a nice idea to invite our local police officers. And yeah, and why not the fire captain, who's bringing that great old antique fire truck over here?
Right, I'm gonna invite him and his family. That's a wonderful idea too, Marty. Thank you.
I guess if we don't formally do something for the new neighbors, maybe having a different name tag for them, so folks, if they wanna, right, may go out of their way to go up to them and introduce themselves, right? If you have a new neighbor name tag, right? Something like that. So folks go out of their way to introduce themselves.
Yeah.
I don't know what qualifies as new anymore. I still feel new, and I've been here for
How many years have you been here?
since 2020.
That's probably run cutoff because we didn't do this event.
Besides
We haven't
COVID.
done that event
So-
since, so it's like anybody from 2019 onwards.
19 was the last time we did it.
Yeah.
We had some smaller events here, but it was the one for the going away party for Niles. Was
Mhm,
about the biggest thing that we did since then. So
Mhm.
this is gonna be great.
mhm.
I'm really very excited about this because I just know it's gonna be perfect.
Mhm.
And we're
Yep.
gonna get a lot of positive feedback on it too. Everybody's gonna love this.
Put something on the flyer about the great food
Yeah,
and free drinks.
that's right. All right, well, we're gonna move on here now to discuss something that will be coming up here in just a couple of months. That's gonna be very exciting too, that we haven't done since 2019. And that's the election day event on the sidewalk down below here on Brookville Road, where people come and vote and engage in conversation with one another. That's always been very, very popular. And so that's something else that we're gonna plan to do on the voting day.
Do we have an actual date for that? Do we have to decide what the date's gonna be? Or has it
May
already
10th
been
is
decided?
election day.
May 10th.
May 10th, okay, and that's
What day of the week
is that
is that?
Thursday?
I think
Wednesday.
it's a Tuesday, Wednesday. Let
Wednesday.
me look.
Election day should be on Tuesdays, but nope.
Usually it's Tuesdays, but May 10th is a Wednesday.
Is the new member of the committee, I would love to hear, so what is the historically, what is the election day event been?
I could probably speak to that, having chaired the committee for a number of years.
You're on, Marty.
Okay, glad I came to the meeting. Initially, back in the day, the old days before my time, the village had a fairly small turnout on election. Like we got 620 some voters, and like 110 maybe would vote. And so Gene Sperling had the great idea of having this event on the sidewalk around the election day to bring people out, and hopefully they would also vote. And it did help improve the voter turnout a little bit. Going to mail vote has improved the turnout by leaps and bounds. I mean, now we have 300 to 400 people voting, which is a terrific turnout rate. But the original impetus was to have an event to publicize the election to up the turnout for voters. And as the election committee chair, we had very specific requirements about where our election table would be set up. And there's a no electioneering zone of at least 50 feet away from the table. So candidates and their campaign teams couldn't be like, proselytizing or handing out flyers right next to the voting table. And it was quite an elaborate thing because people were voting in person back in those days. And the logistical setup was important because state law does require that no electioneering zone. But we had this, community groups there. A wider circle would come, and the scout troop would have a table, and the utility Pepco would set up a table and have little giveaway things. And
And wouldn't
course,
Marty, like, wouldn't Brookville Market give out ice cream? and stuff?
Brookville, we paid for the ice cream. We had tickets at the election table where when you voted, you got ice cream tickets and you could go get a free ice cream cone at the market. And the restaurant set up a special table out front where they had free tasting menus of like small bites of things. And so it really did, like Michael said, publicize and involve the local merchants in a way. It brought a lot of foot traffic into the local shops. And it was initially it was only 2 hours, like from 6 to 8, and we made it 5 to 8 p.m. Because we needed more time for voting when we started having more voters. You can't handle 400 voters in 2 hours. Anyway, what we would have now in terms of voting is not an actual table with live ballots and having to check the voter roll before you give people a ballot, that whole election procedure. Now we would have, I would hope, I think the election committee is planning to have an actual metal election drop box where people will put in their sealed envelopes where they've already voted their mail vote and they just seal the envelope and they can drop off the envelope. So that is less complicated by far than having actual live ballots on election day. So they'll still need a separate area. We usually set up near the Turner Street end of the open area there along the sidewalk in front of the shops. And then the vendors and community groups were at tables up and down the block. I will say it was when we started having enough voters where the last couple of years, 2018, 2019, last years we were doing live voting in person. It was difficult because there was so much hubbub and so much participation. It was pretty chaotic, and trying to manage, to control the ballots so that people weren't just walking up and taking a ballot to vote 2 or 3 times. In the midst of all that, it was kind of a circus. It was delightful. It was fun. But we'd have a line of people lined up at the voting table, waiting to vote. We had to check them in, and then the second line to actually get their ballots, and all the stuff going on, kids running around. It was great fun, but I really, really strongly appreciate the change to just having a ballot drop box now for people to put their envelopes in. It's a really much better setup than having actual voting in person. So
And so
I think it could still be a real
website,
celebration.
see a picture right on the website. You'll see Marty holding court at the table with the other volunteers checking people in. So it's like one of our first frames. That was when we were voting in person. But this is all built around the Dropbox. So there's no voting in person. It's just dropping it off. But we thought it could be a way to sort of, not hybrid, but segue to some sort of spring community event that used to be the sidewalk celebration with voting. Now it's sort of a sidewalk celebration around the Dropbox. It's sort of, I think, what we're envisioning.
And does it make sense to do it on voting day, or does it make sense? I guess when I think about where there's traffic in that area, I think about the farmer's market day. And that's really when everyone, at least when I see it, because now I've been on parental leave the last 2 months, and I go on daily walks in the neighborhood a couple times, and the most foot traffic is during the weekend, Saturday and Sunday, and it looks like the most foot traffic is on Saturday when the farmer's market is up and running. And so I just wonder if you're better off doing it not necessarily on voting day because you've got mail-in voting, but reminding people before voting day about the fact that they can vote, and like having it well in advance of the voting day, and do it when there's like the best chance to grab people, which seems like the foot traffic is on the weekend.
But you're saying you're recommending we have the celebration the weekend before an election. The problem with that is it turns into a campaigning platform, right? So
Yeah, you're right, Michael. You'd have to have, say there are 4 or 5 candidates, you'd have to have 4 or 5 tables, one for each candidate, absolutely equal access to, voters and community. I mean, you'd have to really be, very particular about making sure that all candidates got treated equally in that event.
I know there has been, and Marty, maybe you can speak to this more. There's been conversations about doing a celebration of the election after the fact, maybe in the park or something. But I was trying to remember, I think the election plan has the drop box being from 5 to 8 p.m. on May 10th, that Wednesday. And
That's correct.
And the tradition has been to have the celebration on the sidewalk
Mhm.
at the same time.
Right.
And to your point, there's not as big of an issue with two things happening at once, because
Right.
it's really just dropping an envelope through a
dropping
slat
off, yeah,
and getting a
yeah,
sticker probably.
yeah.
And your ice cream ticket.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that
Yeah.
the key thing is that the election committee have sort of decided that this is the date that A, the election is going to happen, and B, the event is going to happen, and then we're just sort of
You're working in
coming
tandem.
in and trying to just support them whatever way we
Yeah.
can.
Yeah, they're gonna focus on the Dropbox. You would focus on,
Yeah.
surrounding, yeah.
And I think it would actually be great to have a community engagement table there, to hand out the ice cream tickets rather than having the election committee do that. Let them just focus on the election. Because the CEC, I think, can staff the table, or some of the street captains could help staff the CEC table. And do ice cream tickets from there. I know that when we were doing the elections in person, it was complicated we had ice cream tickets, we had drink tickets, we had ballots, we had ballot clipboards, we had the voter roll to check. It was a three-ring circus. But
That
again,
was
the
year
purpose of it
Chocolate
was to
Chip
get
got
people to
400
turn
votes.
out.
Yes, the writing candidate.
I think the idea of having it on a Saturday with the farmers market would be great, because that would help support the farmers market too. And I really do believe in supporting our local merchants, and I love the farm market. I just think that it's such a wonderful service. What's her name? Lauren Beal, who actually created the CEC back in the day. She was the impetus also for bringing us the farm market, and I think that it'd be fun to honor Lauren Beal if we do both on a Saturday around May 10th, before or after.
Well, I don't want to be devil's advocate, but I just will say in the last few months, though, some of our storefronts and vendors, sometimes they've expressed some frustration with the farmers market and the parking. I'm a farmers market regular, and I'm a Brookville market regular, so I'm an equal opportunity shopper, but I know there's been some frustration from the vendors. And so I'm just thinking, like, it could become a free for all, that, because you're getting a lot of traffic. There's been traffic issues, and now you've done a good job, I think, with the signage and
Mostly.
has maybe, I don't know. So the parking on the weekend can be, because there's a lot of people that come through. It's not necessarily VMA residents. It's Section 3, it's Section 5.
Mhm.
So this sidewalk celebration is sort of historically been kind of the VMA's thing, and kind of a nod to our storefronts and our vendors. And so it's been sort of like, typically it was on a Thursday night on election day, but with the mail-in, which is great, I'm glad we're doing the mail-in, it would just be kind of around that drop box on the day that it's due, or and that you can, still request a ballot at that point if you haven't received. You can take care of business, get your vote looked into. If you haven't received, that's when you can report if you didn't receive a ballot, you can get corrected.
Mhm.
So that's kind of the thing you need to also weigh and balance. Is I don't want to say bad blood, but there's just been some frustration from the Olympia. There's been some frustration from Joe and Josie about the farmers market. So I feel like as VMA, we should be diplomatic to that,
Support them all.
yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah. But that's sort of the backstory on that too.
Yeah, that's an important point. The other thing I want to mention is that ballots are actually able to be mailed up through probably May 18th or 19th, because the due date is actually May 23rd at the election service providers have to have it by the 23rd. So whatever we do, if it's before, the actual ballot counting date, when people might still be mailing their ballots, we do need to allow a table for each candidate, whatever we do. If we do any sidewalk event before the final, ballot counting date, it's not like the election ends on May 10th. I mean, that's officially election day, but
Wait, Marty, Marty, if
It's electioneering.
isn't there, I mean, if it happens at the same spot as the Dropbox, there's
Yeah.
electioneering rules are in place.
Yeah, we
No-
normally, what we did, Michael, was put the election table, in this case, the election drop box and table, at the south end, up by that little brick wall that's toward Turner Street,
Uh-huh.
and have candidates electioneering at the north end, more toward the pharmacy and Taylor. And we actually had signs. We used my garden signs, and we put up on it, no electioneering past this point, which is what the state and the county mandate. We kind of
Yeah.
have to do that. And my garden signs are still available. And we might even have the no electioneering placards. I think they were laminated. They might have been in the storage bin that you cleaned out, Michael. I don't know if you found any of the election bunting and stuff, but
Yeah,
There's-
did you find the banner, the flag, the garland, that was really effective. I hope you found.
There
it.
is a box of election stuff floating around. I don't know how good of shape some of that's in. We might need to, it might be. I think
might need to redo those.
there might have been some rats in our storage unit, so.
Oh, how exciting that is. Thank you for foraging in there, Michael.
So the things I didn't include on my list in the newsletter the other day were fixing the toilet and dealing with rats and painting the wall, so.
Oh, my goodness. Thank you for all of
The
those.
joys of
That's the
the.
best part of the newsletter.
It's like other duties as required.
Dirty bit.
So what are the things then that the community engagement committee needs to do? It sounds like potentially get in contact with the vendors.
Mhm. Or
Yeah,
maybe
and I can
attend
support
the
you all
next
with that.
Election committee meeting, maybe one of you could attend and just, during the resident comment, or just say, when this topic comes up, how can we help, or we're here to help, or.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, so
At the
maybe start
conference.
with that, kind of get your relationship with them.
At the election committee meeting.
Yeah,
At the
which
election
is the
committee.
sixth.
The next one's the 6th.
The sixth, yeah, that's next week.
There will be several before election
Yeah.
day for sure. And let me reach out to the vendors, because I'll go
Mhm.
back through the files we have for the old events and just see what we did in prior years.
We
And
want to
then
get somebody here if we could from Pepco, from Washington Gas, and from WSSC, Washington Suburban Sanitary Commission.
for the celebration, was that what?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I had heard about that happening. I
Yeah.
didn't know it was,
Yeah,
it
and
was for
they'll
that event.
come. You'll get somebody over here.
And again, the politicians like to come.
And
Yeah,
sure they
absolutely,
do.
absolutely. What we'll do is also schedule a meeting, the next community engagement committee meeting on looking at April, late April. 2 months from now.
Yeah, that makes sense. And in terms of coordinating with the election committee, obviously you need to find out from them. I guess it's their call whether they want to have the celebration while they have the drop box at one end of the strip and the candidates at the other end of the strip, or whether they want to have the celebration on the sidewalk be a separate event. There was some discussion at the last election committee meeting about keeping the drop box just as a separate thing and having the sidewalk celebration be on a different date entirely. Whether it was a Wednesday or a Saturday or whatever, but separating the two events. And I don't know, is it your understanding that that's up to the election committee, or do you want to, as the engagement committee, make a recommendation to do the sidewalk celebration at the same day as the drop box? I don't think the election committee really had made a decision on that. Maybe I'm remembering it wrong, but
I don't
think
think
that
you
was-
have either, but I think you can at least attend and suggest and just say, we're not here to step on toes, we're here to work with you all in tandem and I mean, I feel like you can't go wrong either way because but we're coming on the 3rd year anniversary of the pandemic in the next few weeks. And I mean, I just think as our survey results have showed and everything, people love events. They want to get out. You are the fun committee, the champion. So like whatever you offer, people are excited. And just this last year alone at that movie night, the Halloween party was epic. And now the firm event coming back. If you try and just do anything that kind of resembles, you're gonna be a hit. So like
Yeah.
it doesn't,
That's
they're not gonna turn down, I don't think, that you're saying, we'll handle that
Yeah.
part. You handle the election. It's like two different things going on at once,
Yeah.
but around it, yeah.
No, I think that makes total sense.
Yeah.
We can't go wrong.
Yeah.
My only question would be if, and to be honest, I haven't paid any attention to the election process or the new election, apart from signing Marty's, the petition that was put out. But if we have an event before election day,
Mhm.
are there certain extra responsibilities that we would assume of having the candidates or giving them notice or making sure they're all there, which might make things a wee bit more complicated?
Mhm.
Yeah, let me answer that if I could jump in. Legally, you have to provide equal access, equal opportunity to all the candidates. You don't need to try to coordinate, say there are 4 or 5 candidates. I mean, some years we've had 6. You don't need to make sure that you have a celebration on the sidewalk on a date that all of them can be available. You need to give them advance notice that they are welcome to have a table, and you need to provide the tables, which is, Michael, we need to rent 4 or 5 tables for 4 or 5 candidates, small, like, card table size tables. But you have to provide equal access. Whether some choose not to, or they're on a family vacation on the date that is selected for the sidewalk celebration, that's up to the candidates. We can't require them to participate. We can only facilitate it and make it clear that we are offering it to all of them on an equal basis. So that's the legal requirement. And that's a good point because, we can also tell them that they have to be at the north end of the block, away from the ballot drop box. But that's it. I mean, other than the electioneering zone and the equal access, those are the 2 requirements. And obviously notifying them all at the same time. I mean, you can't give some early notice and some late notice. You have to tell them all at once. But we won't even know what candidates we have until end of March. Again, I think the election committee may have feelings as to whether they want to do the event on the same day as the Dropbox or not. I just don't know what their take
It
on that
sounds
would
like
be.
Right.
we
You
gotta
won't know
talk to
until-
them and figure
yeah.
out what they want, and if they want our support, or, we can figure that out.
And you might even want to like not even touch this election with a 10-foot pole and just do a separate sidewalk celebration, which was to your point, Bill, that you were saying earlier. So, I mean, I get that too. So, I mean, it's just worth maybe just throwing it out there at their next.
And we have time for this to
Yeah,
plan for
yeah.
this, so.
Yeah, we got a couple of months.
Yeah.
You said, their next meeting was March
March 6th.
6th.
Yeah.
I happen to be out of town. I don't know if either of you 2 are around.
I'll take that.
Yeah, I'm also out of town next week.
I'll take it.
It's a
Oh.
Zoom meeting though,
I'll work
do you
that out
know-
with you, Mike.
Do you know what time it is?
7:30 on Monday.
By way of background, the committee, the election committee, back in January 2020, if I recall correctly, actually wrote up a document. At that point, we were between staff. We didn't have any office staff, and the council members were trying to run the shop. And the election committee wrote up a sort of staff instructions document for how to do the sidewalk celebration and the election. That was, again, an in-person election was the plan there. But that document does exist. And Michael, I don't know, do you have that? It's a January 2020 sort of staff support memo from the election committee. We thought, whatever new staff we got was going to need to know the ropes. And so we wrote out sort of like the mechanics of what staff work was needed, not what the election committee needed to do. That's a separate document, but what the staff work was for the combined celebration on the sidewalk, the parts that were independent of the election committee and the parts that were revolved around supporting the election action. Anyway, that document exists if people want to go back and read. Sort of, again, Michael, if you need a copy.
That might
of
be
it,
helpful for me, yeah.
I'll see if I can find it. I know I got it in the file somewhere here.
Now, Marty, thank you so much for your support and help here. What you just offered us, because that's priceless information for me anyway. So,
Well, it does include a lot of notes from Jean and from Tina Lurie. Tina was the one who always was contacting the vendors and the politicians and the utility companies and all of that stuff. So, I don't give the election committee credit for inventing it. I just didn't give us credit for writing it down, what was involved, and I'll be glad to share it.
your contribution here is immense. So
Very much so.
thank you very much. Bill?
Oh, and I just wanted to make sure I had it right then. So the next steps, you're gonna attend. the
I'll be
meeting,
next Monday.
Yeah, next Monday. And Michael, you're, depending on the date and timing of what's agreed on with the election committee, you'll reach out to the vendors.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I'll refresh my memory for what vendors we used last time, though I think it was 2019. And maybe make some recommendations to you all as far as additional vendors or
Sounds great.
Yeah, the only thing I remember about vendors from back then, one detail, was that the environmentalists in the community, of which there are a fair number, didn't want us to have balloons because they said balloons were environmentally unsound. And I remember being a little taken aback. I'm an environmentalist. I'd never thought about it, but they're probably right. So that's why we use the bunting and the flags as opposed to balloons. So I don't know if there's a balloon vendor on the list, but I want you to know that you might get some pushback
okay.
on that because we did, and we listened to people. We said, okay, you know, if it matters to you, we'll comply. No balloons, just lots of flags.
Balloons are really in the news these days. I don't know.
Yeah, hopefully
Yeah.
not Chinese ones.
Buy balloon off
I was
the-
thinking, Olympia Cafes closed at that time, but I think originally, like John the Barber was giving people like a
Pretty half,
$5
half off the haircut, yeah.
discount on their haircut and stuff.
Okay.
So just like coordinate, and then, and then Brookfield Market had the ice creams. So just telling those guys what's going on so they can take advantage
And
of it
that's,
as
they've
well.
got new ownership in the barber shop, so I'm sure they're eager to try.
Yeah,
and-
they'll have, yeah, for sure.
Although Grace, if I talked to her, she'd be willing to stay open a couple extra hours.
Oh, yeah.
Because they made food, they made these wraps and handed those out, so it's all good. We'll get it, we'll get them all to.
Yeah.
Bring it
Yeah.
all together here.
Michael, are you going to coordinate with the vendors?
Yeah. And I think Keith can help me talk to the neighbor businesses and
Yep.
that's
That's great.
Sure will.
we'll work together to get it done. And yeah, if the election committee and you both all want to do it, I'm excited for it. I think I agree with Katie. The more events, the better. I think people are itching to get back out.
Yes.
My Friday walks have been a big success. I've had someone join me every week. This last week, people were
Bring an
people
umbrella
people
Friday.
were running up late and trying to catch me on the street.
Yeah.
So
Let's put this in the record as well, and you leave it's the 12 o'clock or
12 on the
12:30 lunchtime. Friday?
12 on Friday. Yep.
All right.
I
Agree
actually,
here, Andy.
Two of you all joined me, so thank you. I appreciate that. Yep.
I think it's gonna, as you continue to publicize it, I expect your crowd will grow.
I had one other question
I do
about
too, yeah.
Sunday, just on, just the kids and I'm able to pitch in and help and,
Yeah.
and if it gets to be a free for all, I'll donate my, 15-year-old and 12-year-old daughters to go baby.
I'm the teacher there, when I was the teacher. So she deals with the kids, the third and fourth graders all the time, so.
So we can get some activities or something. What, I mean, I know that we just talked about balloons, but I remember our balloon artist, I know maybe not face painting, but how would we, I mean, I don't think it would be available at this point, but I think the party, from a few years ago, they had some sort of entertainment component like that. I mean, if they're available and if it's in the budget, would you all be interested in that?
Yeah, the only reason that I was not,
Oh, is
was I
that the
struck
person you
out, I did not
talked to?
contact the
Oh,
balloon
okay.
artist.
Oh,
I
I didn't know,
contacted magicians and
Uh-huh.
I pulled the first like 5 or 6 on Google that had good reviews
Yeah,
and stopped at the 6 no.
and I would preface they're inside balloons, not outside balloons.
Yeah.
So the outside balloons are the
Yeah.
environment. These are ones you take home. Go ahead.
But it also may be the case that it's worth
Yeah.
calling again because I called a couple weeks ago and people may have had cancellations or closer to the event.
Sure.
So you never know, and I'm happy to. Maybe that's where the rats are.
Oh, no.
That wasn't in here. The rats were in the storage unit in Kensington. So
But I'm happy to try and make some more calls. Like Michael, if you want to call the balloon vendor since you know them or that
Oh,
you
we have a receipt.
or we have the receipt, and I can circle back to and see if anyone has had cancellations from the original group that I called of the magicians.
It makes sense that babysitters and babysitting companies don't know what the ask is and have a hard time
Mhm.
meeting
Yeah.
that big of a variety of possibilities.
Yeah.
But yeah, someone to come do a little magician show or something, or face painting, or I think I might know a face painting.
You got a
But
few
yeah,
more days to work.
Yeah, it'll, yeah.
Now,
if
what-
not, we'll just have a lot of coloring pens and
Yeah, I can
I'll
help
bring
you
some
with that.
juggling balls.
I'll
All right.
help.
Can you juggle, Michael? I mean, literally, if I brought you 5 tennis balls, could you juggle? Does this go into other duties as required?
Give me that menu again. We've got Belgian waffles.
You know, I can send it out to you all.
Okay.
Yeah, there's quite a few things on here.
And name a couple
It
of them.
sounded great.
Smoked salmon station,
Smoked salmon.
chicken and spinach crepes, homemade waffles, roasted potatoes, egg benedict, fresh fruit bowls.
By your Bloody Mary station.
For the
That's
drinks,
Paul's first up.
it looks like there's some mimosas and some other house of champagne,
Oh,
Ooh,
yeah.
class act.
and a rosé and a Chardonnay
I'll
and
stick with sparkling water.
beer-
Maybe a couple
beers and
more of those
coffee.
cookies Let's grab those on the way out.
Outstanding.
Well,
Oh, aren't they good? Yeah, that's from Levain, and there's one in Georgetown.
Marty, thank you for being our honorary member here.
Yeah.
It's an honor to be with you guys, all of you.
Can I ask,
Unless anybody has anything else to add
Yeah.
here, we can wrap things up for the evening.
can I ask a couple more
Absolutely.
quick
Please,
questions?
yeah, take your time.
One was a holdover, I think, from a question I asked Niles a while back that I think maybe didn't get any traction, but in anticipation, this is way looking out, as the weather starts to change. But I know that, some of the other villages either, have reached out to or contracted with, an ice cream truck to come around in their village, and I suspect they don't pay them anything because business is quite brisk over there.
Oh, okay.
But I've noticed that they don't come around in Martin's Additions, they come around in the other Chevy Chase villages. And it's great, like the kids all come running out, right? It keeps people in their front yards as opposed to their backyards. I sent something to Niles and I don't know if it ever got any traction, but it would be great if we could reach out to an ice cream truck and just get a regular cadence in Martin's Additions during the better weather.
That's
Um,
my baby. Look, I know the guy.
Oh, you've got
Oh,
someone?
yeah, I'm the one who lined him up.
Okay,
He's
well,
ready to go anytime.
yeah, I mean, so just
So-
making sure
And
that,
he's good.
yeah, that they come through on a regular basis.
Like whether it's like Thursday night or.
You're not worried about, I'm not
whatever it is,
worried
just so
about him.
people-
He will be here.
Yeah.
We
uh,
just need to publicize the schedule so that people know when to expect the ice cream truck in the village.
Yeah,
Because that
so-
used to be fun every
We used to
summer.
have
We'd have that
one
come
on
every
a-
summer.
I don't know if it was on a schedule, but I haven't the last few summers seen one over here unless movie night we had one show up and then he's over there.
Now, we
That's
did
section
pay,
three,
we
Section-
paid him
That's
when he was here for the 4th of July.
Yeah,
Yeah.
He
yeah.
got up in front of my house and we paid him.
Hey,
Yeah.
yeah.
But you may not want to do that. You may want to I might just want to tell him, come over and, the business will come to you.
Yeah.
We can discuss that at the next meeting.
Mhm.
Yeah, I was gonna say maybe like if,
But that was a really good thought on your part because I'm the one,
They have an ongoing,
well, so here's what I've been able to decipher. If you Google it,
you know,
it appears that like, I can't remember now, it's section 5 or section 3. They have
the
some
gazebo
sort of
park
real,
over there.
not, I can't tell if it's like contracted or they've have their longtime ice cream man,
Mhm.
right? But I think it's probably just like business is really good over there and everyone knows the schedule.
Mhm.
Right? And he's got that neighborhood locked down. But I feel like if you got someone to commit to come, these days, and you said, this is the Martin's Additions person, and you put it in the newsletter, right? People would absolutely seize on it, and
I'll
it keeps
get-
people in their front
I'll
yard.
get the guy.
Let's
over
talk,
here
let's
because
talk.
He's great and he was a huge hit, as Katie knows.
And I have a relationship with all of the other managers now, so and I've met all of them. So
Oh, fantastic.
that
Great.
that's a good
great.
resource for me to have so I can always call them and ask them, who's your ice cream truck guy?
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, maybe that's super helpful. And just to know how they do it, even if we're not gonna use their ice cream truck because Steve has a relationship, but like just to know how they structure it, because it seems very successful over there.
Okay.
So that was one point. The second point I had was, does it make sense at any point to bring in and do something with the street captains? Just to have everyone, I certainly haven't met them. I don't know if you've had an opportunity.
I mean, I know who most of them are, but I haven't actually met them in some sort of official capacity.
And I didn't know if it it made sense to have everyone get an opportunity to get together and see each other and talk, but also just to solicit feedback. I know now we're into February, but
We're out of February.
yeah, we're out of February. Well, we got a couple hours.
See how long this meeting goes.
Together, I'll like that.
Say, what ideas do you have for the engagement committee and for your role and putting everyone together in a room?
Should we make a point of
Inviting them to the next,
invite them,
Yeah.
or just give them a heads up and invite them, we'll have that sort of item one is street captain engagement feedback and.
Love it.
Yep.
Yeah,
Or
Next
just put
meeting,
them on your agenda, like, let's hear from
Yeah.
our street captains. We
Yeah.
want you to come, you can come in person or.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. We'll bring snacks. Come on in.
you advertise those cookies and
It's game over.
all right, now listen, guys, you know, you got one last chance here to take some of those home because the rest of them I'm gonna get.
Wasn't there an event in previous years for like volunteer appreciation that included the
Yes,
street
yes,
captains?
Yes, that's correct. And we did that at La Fern. We did that.
That's
upstairs.
typically in the
Yeah.
summer, isn't it? Because I know I've missed it the last couple of years.
Be good to get them at the at the community engagement
Yeah.
meeting, some sort of a hook or something to get.
I was just
them.
jogging my memory on that.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yes, they are always welcome to the volunteer. They're always invited to the volunteer.
So we got a couple of extra bucks this year.
Yeah, yeah.
Because of no plows.
That
Oh,
and we
so
didn't spend most of the years of the pandemic. That's why everyone's like party. Yeah.
Well,
So we have-
Sunday's
we
going to
have
be
to work with, yeah.
Sunday's going to be a good event.
so do we want to set the date for the next meeting while we?
Yeah, let's do it in late April,
Um,
okay?
Last Tuesday of April.
You
Last Tuesday of April.
you and Paul tell me when you can
Okay.
do it, and Katie.
The Tuesdays seem to work pretty well for you all. Tuesday evenings,
Tuesdays are much better than Thursdays.
18th or 25th in late April.
18th is better than 25th.
Okay, we'll do it on the, how about you, Paul?
18th
All
works for
right,
me.
18 April, we go. We're here 8 o'clock.
I'll be at Disney for the first time.
Oh, wow.
Uh,
So when are you going to Disney?
Go to the Epcot Center, you'll enjoy that as much, if not
Oh,
more
okay.
than the kitty.
Yeah, we'll make sure.
Katie, thank you so much for you being here. too,
Oh.
okay,
No kidding.
and for the
Thank you.
goodies, all right?
You're welcome.
Marty, you
Pleasure.
still with us, I
It's all
hope?
you guys.
I'm still here.
Marty, have a good night.
Thank you, Marty. Good to
Yes.
talk to you.
definitely.
Thanks to you all.
Thank you so much for joining us here.